Yesterday in Lincoln, Dana Holgorsen spoke.
Yes, he did.
I would think if I'm a young reporter, and you're more on this line because you're
young,
yeah,
and you're a reporter. Would Dana Holgorsen intimidate you?
I don't know if I've asked Dana a question before. I think he would, just because the experience that he's had, the amount of questions that he's answered before, and the fact that he is a pretty straight shooter. And it is a rare moment. Like when he made that joke about DeKeel and running a 4.7, like that, there was a reason everybody was laughing so much, because that was a kind of a rare thing. So absolutely. I've always found myself, and you talk to, and I know a lot of young people that are there as well. Like talking to the position coaches is always a little bit less pressure filled and more fun, because they haven't been there as much either. So it's kind of like a feeling out process, and you guys, get to know each other. Guy like that, he's just done this so many times where, it is a little intimidating when he's staring right at you.
I think it's intimidating from the standpoint that is something you just mentioned as a straight shooter. So I think in sports media, we have trouble with honesty. We want our coaches and our players to be honest, but when we're honest, we don't know how to
react to it.
We don't know how to consume that content and what to do with it. And so he's a straight shooter, and he's going to BS you, and he isn't going to cliche you to death. He's just going to tell you what it is. So if you're a young reporter, if you ask a bad question, it gets kind of awkward. So I can see where he might be intimidating, but that's a good thing because he is a straight shooter. There is a phrase that if you want to set up your friend to get scolded, to use when you're talking to Dana Holgorsen, and I think this is program wide because they have a couple of
They have a little tics.
They have talking points. So the two main talking points this year are red zone offense and third down defense.
Yes.
But do not bring up air raid.
I was about to say that.
So
I should have said it. Knew it.
Air raid is the phrase that they will sprint away from, because I think a couple of things. One, there's two sides of this. Nebraska is not a true air raid, and it's not going to exist at Nebraska. One, what made Holgorsen unique? He had a different type of offense, right?
Yes.
So he's adjusted with his personnel that is at Nebraska, and I think adjusted to the game. But if you say air raid, he's like, no. But I also think it's this. One, they're not going to be an air raid offense. But I also wonder if it's from the recruiting standpoint of, okay, if we say we're an air raid offense, we might pigeonhole ourselves into a particular group of players that we could only go after, instead of being, hey, we're balanced, we're multi, we're versatile, we have this, we can do that, instead of just an air raid. It's just curious when that phrase is brought up. And it's not, I mean, Dana will always be attached to that when you're in the Mike Leach tree, but it's curious how Holgorsen, and even I think Barney was asked about it yesterday about the air raid.
Yeah.
That they say, not so fast.
Well, another thing too is, and that's an interesting perspective that you take away from that from a recruiting angle, right? I think it might be a little bit of a personal angle, though, from Dana as well, because I think that Dana doesn't like, or maybe I don't want to, let me take that back. Not doesn't like, but I think that Dana, in a way, wants to be known more than just an air raid coach, that's just all that he does, and that's all that he's known for. I think he wants people to recognize that, hey, I have good run packages too, and I can run a balanced offense, and I can do what's best for a team and the personnel as well. I'm just not a coach that I'm just zeroed in and locked in and being stubborn, right? And just doing this specific type of offense. I think that he wants to prove that, hey, I can adjust to certain things, and I can add this run game, but then I can make us multiple in the pass game as well, which could be a philosophy change. On top of that is in terms of, we don't just need to throw the ball all the time. We can still be creative in the pass game and add this little wrinkle in the run game. I do think, though, do you think there's a little like PTSD from Scott Frost being on the podium and saying, hey, I hope the Big Ten adjusts to us, and him having this? Are you?
You're talking. You're talking to a wall. I'm not gonna.
Okay, fair enough. That's fine.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. That's okay. But I do think that they do want it. There might be a little bit of, we want to get away from the fact that people just don't like it when we're like, oh, we're going to pass at Nebraska, because Nebraska is known for running the football. But I do think too, when you look at their roster, it is a roster that the best type of offense is pounding the football, but then also being creative in the pass game. And I think that if you're able to combine those things together, it's something that will be really good for them. And also, they're still very focused on complementing the defense. It's still an offense that is focused on helping out the other side of the ball, which is what you need in the Big Ten.
You think so?
I think so.
Instead of we do our stuff, you do our stuff because we have faith that you'll fix that side, and we want to be an all-encompassing. We're in all three phases. We do well. Instead of okay, we can't do this. We can't be willy-nilly. We can't be shooting from the hip. We can't take chances because oh my God, we don't want to put our defense. I don't think that because I think that's the wrong way to go. Because you should hope that your program is in a good spot. That all three phases. You know what? They feed off each other. There's complementary football, but you got to do what you got to do. You can't say, "Hey, because we're going to be a little light in the defense, man, we can't do what we got to do." No, you got to take care of yourself and hope that the rest of the program is on the same level. I think that's a cop out.
I think that was too much of an emphasis when they first got here. And we've talked about this before where they would reference Iowa a lot, and it was almost like Matt Rule wanted to be an Iowa-type program and then recognized maybe that's not the way that we go, and there's a reason Iowa's Iowa and Nebraska just has to be Nebraska. But I don't think that sentiment has left them. I don't think that idea of, hey, we got to make sure. I mean, Daniel Holgorsen looked at his play call, looked at his sheet yesterday and goes, we ran 27 power plays, they still talk about the importance of, running the ball and imposing physicality and having maintaining, having possession, right? And not turning the ball over. And I don't think it's as big of an emphasis, but I don't think that's left them. I don't think in the way that they talk that they still is in the back of their mind that, hey, we're going to go and play offense, but there is still a way that we play offense where we can't just leave our defense out to dry in terms of the way that we're calling plays and, us getting reckless and then we just letting them get back on the field over and over again. I don't think it's as big of a deal as it used to be.
Yeah, I think introduce yourself to the new OC. I think that's not the mindset. I think you would handcuff yourself as a play caller if that's how you.
And then that's plays. What they did before, and I think that's what they did before.
That guy's not the OC.
Yeah, exactly. I know,
and it wasn't necessarily he did that to protect the defense. There were other elements of that. I think they themselves were limited. I think that's unless your defense is so porous that you're only playing with 8 guys. I think that would be a bad way to go through calling plays. Because at the end of the day, you need to find a way to score points.
I look at this,
and you trust the guy that is on the same staff with you. It's his job to stop people from scoring points
with the talent that they have. What, in my opinion, I think that they're going to be a better passing team than they are going to be a better run team. Mm-hmm. Okay, they have a better quarterback than a better running back. I think the best position group on that field is wide receivers. Right, I think that in terms of offensive line, it definitely isn't the top group, but Donovan Raiola's groups have been able to pass block or, run block pretty consistently. But when I hear them go 50-50, hey, we're going to be 50-50, we're going to be really, really balanced. But at the same time, I look at this roster and I think, well, I would prefer them to be 55-45 or maybe even 60-40 because I think they have an advantage more so in their passing game than their running game. When they keep saying 50-50, I still think that is in part because of the emphasis of time of possession and keeping the defense on the bench and letting them reset. I still think that this idea of balance, because of the fact that their strengths may be more so in the pass game than in the run game, does have something to do with trying to complement the defense.
But don't you think it just game to game? Like if you're playing a team that can't stop the pass, you might be a 55-45 pass, but you turn around the next week and you're like, you know what? The best way to win this game is going to be able to run the ball. I think good offenses adjust. They are who they are, and they use their talent in the right position, and then they also use what they're going against, what their weaknesses are, and get away from that defensive strength. And the whole goal is to score points. Whole goal is to score points and stop the other team from scoring points, and then try and find a way to impact points with the third phase, which is special teams.
I do think, though, is what just the hammering of 50-50, though, definitely does stand out. And the fact that they go, hey, what our offense looked like in the Pinstripe Bowl, that's what our offense is going to look like from, this year. And you look at that Pinstripe Bowl, stat sheet, they had 30 passes and 27 true runs, And so I think them being dedicated to that and the fact that I think that their strengths are in that passing game has to do more with just like, oh, we really believe in our run game and we want to run the ball all the time. But to your point, I'd rather them just not say anything at all and just go with the game plan and just be like, and just look at the defense and be like, "Oh, they suck at pass. They suck at pass defense. We're gonna go. We're gonna kill them. We're gonna go and throw it all over the board." Right? It's just interesting notes and how they talk about this offense. It's just very intent. They have a very intent way of what they want to do, and I'm a little indifferent about how they talk about that. Because I would like I told you, like you said, I agreed with you, right? I would like them to adjust their offense based on what their strengths are and based on what they're playing, right? So I would just like them to just always say, hey, we're going to do what's best against the defenses we're playing against and what we have on our roster. And I do like the fact that they're like, no, we are going to run the ball. That is something that we're going to do. But at the same time, I would prefer them just to not say nothing at all and just be like, no, it's going to be a game-to-game thing, and we're just going to go out and we have the pieces and we have the multiplicity to score points on anybody because that's how we've recruited this roster.